So there was a question about making API calls to two separate APIs in a single contract. So I wanted to make a quick video about this. So as the base project, we are going to be using workshop honeycomb request. So the most simple one without the front end. So you just clone this and have it. You just need to create a wallet.json file. You can find out how if you watch the previous videos. So if you remember, this original project generated a random number between 1 and 6. So let's first replace this with an API call, then add a second one. So the first API that I'm going to be using is EOD historical data, and I'll use the real-time endpoint, and we'll get Apple stock price. So the classic example, even the API example is Apple. So this endpoint has a path parameter symbol. So even without looking at the documentation, you can see that you have to provide this, otherwise the adapter is going to raise an error. So in this case, this is the stock symbol and this is the exchange US. So we'll be feeding it this way. And you can read the documentation, but this is the only parameter that you need to feed it. So we want a close price. So the close price is not going to be negative ever. So we can get this as an unsigned integer. And you can see that it has 2 decimal places. So we want to multiply this by 100. So the symbol is Apple. And times is 100, and copy path is close. Another thing that we need to change is the result was an integer before. Let's get this as unsigned integer. So we changed the variable type and also the type here in the callback function. And the final thing that we need to change is the job ID here. So let's go to connect, real-time connect, Robston, unsigned integer, and the job ID gets copy-pasted here. So while we deploy this, let's look at the second API. I'm going to use a funny one now. Hyperledger has this indices endpoint. So it gives the indices for health and outdoor activities. And like there's some weird ones. So again, it has path parameters. So type and action. So these are required. There may be more required parameters. So you need to see the docs, but for this endpoint, we're on these. So these are the supported in these types. And we're going to be using P's. This is pretty weird. So type is P's. And these are the supported actions. So this gives P's for a point, and this gives it for a route. And if you read this, it's going to say that you can use a zip code. So let's just do that. So the place is Union City, New Jersey. That's right. In this current 1, bad. So if you look at the range, it goes from 1 to 5, and the state of P's is 1, obviously because it's winter. And according to the API, this is bad. So let's get this bad field. So we are still deploying this. Let's just wait for it to be deployed, run the test, then get on to adding the next request. Could be any time now. By the way, do you need to change this test script? Probably not. We are going to be changing it after we add the second request, but for now we can just run it as is. So we are probably waiting for link tokens to be sent. Yes, not yet. But yeah, remember that you don't need to send link tokens for this example, only because the migration script does it for you, but otherwise you would have to. And also, to deploy this project successfully, you need Rapston link tokens in your address. So let's just npm run tests Rapston. And now that this is running in the background, we can add the second request. So a different request means like a different request to a different API means a different job ID. So you first need to add another job ID, and we basically duplicate all the job ID related stuff. Hopefully you will choose better variable names, but this is going to be just fine for now. Job ID 1. Yeah, so we have two job IDs. Let's delete this reset result part. And then we need a second set of results received and result things. And the thing is, our result is going to be a string, so the type should be bytes 32. And we also need two sets of functions, one to make the request and the other to use the callback function. So for make request 1 and fulfill 1, make request 2, fulfill 2. Here job ID 1 is going to be used. This will be fulfill 1. These are the correct parameters. Here this should be 1 and 1. And this is job ID 2. We will change these parameters. That should be fulfill 2. The type should be bytes 32 here. And these are 2 and 2. By the way, we got the result here. So this is the Apple stock price multiplied by 100. So let's add our parameters here. Type should be these. Note that we are changing make request 2, not make request 1. And action is a zip code. And copy path is a bit complicated. Response 0 in this. Current index English. So let's do a quick check. Looks fine. We also need to change the deployment contract. So now we have two separate job IDs. Job ID 1 and 2. 1 and 2. and let's get the job ID for this endpoint. Indices connect, network Robson, data type bytes32, job ID copy paste. And while this is being deployed, we can change the test script. So we deleted the reset results function, so I'm deleting it from here. And let's not print the initial values, we don't need them. And this make request is now make request 1. So I'll change these. And these are result receipt 1 and result 1. And we copy paste all of this to make the second request. But there, this is make request 2. Result receipt 2, result 2. And we can't use toString with bytes32. We should be using web3.utils.hex2ASCII. So let's go over this quickly. No, this will work. Okay, so in the meantime, we can go over the API documentation. What other parameters do we have? Refer to an endpoint detailed documentation. So do we have an ID documentation? So it's bad to excellent apparently. And we can also have a forecast of these, which is cool. So I think we deployed. Let's run the test. So we are just going to make a request, get the Apple stock data, make another request, get the B data, and then the fact that we can have them printed on the terminal means that we should also be able to use them in the smart contract. And I didn't come up with a smart contract use case that would need the Apple stock price and these in New Jersey, but I think you get the point here. So that's our request ID. Let's look at it on Explorer. So here we have our external adapter. We are indexing the JSON object with the copy path parameter in this adapter. We are multiplying the value with the times parameter in this adapter. We're casting the value as an unsigned integer and writing it on the blockchain. Basically, this calls back the fulfill function, actually fulfill one function, and we have the result here. And if we can see the other one, so here you can see that this external adapter is not the same as this external adapter because it serves a different endpoint. And since we are expecting a string, we don't use a multiply adapter in the job because it doesn't make sense. So we just index the JSON object, cast it as a bytes32 array, and then write it to blockchain. So basically, this one calls back this function, and it knows to call back this function because while making the request here, we gave this function signature. So we told the Oracle to call back this contract and this function signature, and basically it is this function. So we got the final result bad. So we get the result correctly. So this is basically it. Now if I try to access the result1 variable in the contract, I'm going to get the Apple stock price, and if I try to access the result2 variable, I'm going to get bad. So we made calls to two separate APIs, and it worked quite fine. So that's it. Here, I'm probably also going to do another video about how to make, for example, if multiple people use this contract and one asks for the Apple stock price and another asks for another stock price, then if the second person makes the request, then the first person's response is going to get overwritten. So how do you handle that? So I'm planning to provide another video about that. But that's it. By the way, this code is not going to be on the internet, so you're going to have to follow the steps that I did. But it should be easy, and if not, come to the Discord and ask about it.